All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the video. This is going to be a Super Nintendo Mortal Kombat 3 versus the Sega Genesis Mortal Kombat 3. Which one is better? Which one do I prefer? Now, I lived through it. I lived through when these games were developed back in 94, 95. And I got to say, I was a Super Nintendo guy. So, naturally, I played a lot of the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 3. That's not to say I didn't play the Sega Genesis version, though. And this time around, they were very, very close. Very even, I would think. And this time around, Sculptured Software took care of Mortal Kombat 3 on the Genesis, in which Probe worked on Part 1 and 2. They really, while those two versions were really good, there was so much more they could do with the software, and they failed to do it. So this time around, Sculptured Software takes care of it. That being said, these two games are actually really, really close. So today we're gonna focus again on graphics, sound, controls, and then overall fun factor. So we're just gonna get right into it this time. We're gonna play a bit of the Super Nintendo and then the Sega Genesis versions, and we're gonna talk a bit about it afterwards. The first topic that we're going to look at is the graphics on both of these systems, and let's see how they handled the graphics. So let's get right into some gameplay and talk about the graphics afterwards. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to start off with the Super Nintendo version of Mortal Kombat 3. Now, we are going to play these. We're not going to put any secret codes or anything in, any cheat menus or options. They are available in this version, obviously. The only thing we're going to do is we're going to set it to easy, just so we can make some comparisons without the headache. Controls on the Super Nintendo, I do like my run button to be that. So I'm switching that around. But, yeah, let's take a look at graphics for the Super Nintendo. So far, menus look good. I mean, there's not much to it. Character animation, however, it's all there. They look good, a little pixelated, but it is being played on a 50-inch HD TV. These games were meant to be played on CRTs, but for this video, it's going to be played on a HD TV, so as well as the Sega Genesis version. So graphically, how does this game look so far? It looks colorful, looks good, animation's good. What are the backgrounds like? The backgrounds look good. Overall, it looks very good. The only thing so far about the graphics, the character names aren't in the life bar, which turns off some people. But is it a big deal? Not really. Characters themselves a little smaller than the arcade, obviously, but this is a 16-bit system. Overall, they did really good things with this. So we're gonna let Jax win this round because I would like to perform an animality and see how that looks on here. But overall, this stage looks good. The graphics look good. Very, very impressive.
Round 3, fight.
Overall, considering what they had to work with and what they had to include in this game, they did a very good job with graphics. Alright.
Sub-Zero shows mercy.
Screen goes green instead. Alright.
Sub-Zero wins. Animality.
Very good. Let's check out the graphics on the Sega Genesis version now. Alright, here it goes. The Sega Genesis version of Mortal Kombat 3. See what the volume's like on this one. Once again, there is no knowledge. That is not power. All right, graphically, so far, a little bit grainy. Now keep in mind, this is being played on a 50-inch HD TV, obviously. But that being said, we're gonna go to the easy. We are using the 6-button controller. You know what? We're gonna set it up to easiest, like we did on the Super Nintendo as well. And let's just look at graphics. Let's look at graphics right now. So as you can see, the animation for all the characters is there. Yes, it looks a little bit grainy, but look at how these characters move. There's a lot of animation in this one. So we're focusing on graphics. Let's do novice. We'll play a round or two, or a match or two, just like the Super Nintendo. Oh, there you go. Plays really good. Graphically, seems to be a little less blood than the arcade, but not a big deal. The backgrounds are all looking good. A lot of the animation is there. Characters look good. Overall, the Sega Genesis, you got the players' names in the life bars like before. We're gonna let Nightwolf win, like we did on the Super Nintendo as well. We do have it set to easiest, but we're gonna let them win so we can perform the animality. See if it performs on this one. See what it looks like graphically. But even the wind effects there, they kept those in this version of the game. I tell you, Sculptured Software really did a good job. Really did a good job with this version. So graphically, you know, finish him, the words are a little smaller. The color on animality is a little off. But overall, graphically, I mean, Sega Genesis looks really good. Let's take a look at the sound now. Well, in our next clip, we're gonna talk a little bit about the graphics first, though. So let's get into that. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So what did you think? The Super Nintendo and the Genesis looked pretty good. Both of them looked pretty good. Graphically, the characters had fluid animation on both systems. They really crammed a lot into both of these systems and both of these cartridges. The Super Nintendo is capable of more colors, but because of the amount of content they put into this, I think they had to do away with some colors and such. And the characters were smaller on the Super Nintendo, but and the Genesis, obviously, but they both looked very even, I think, graphically. While the Genesis had more of a grainy, kind of dark look to it, the Super Nintendo, while polished, it still looked pretty grainy itself as well. So I think graphically, considering all things considered, the graphics on Super Nintendo, I'm going to give a 3.5 out of 5. And on the Genesis, 3.5 out of 5. Now, they were ambitious. They did everything they could, and they crammed so much into both of these games. But I think because of that, they had to sacrifice on the graphics. And, you know, 3.5 is still above average. So they both did really good on graphics, but they are neck and neck on graphics. So let's take a look at the sound for both of these systems now. Play a little bit more of each, and then we'll talk about that. All right, let's take a look at sound. Let's look with our ears. How does the Sega or Super Nintendo version sound? All right, the music is in there. Speech is in there. Very good. One thing the Sega Genesis was missing before was the announcer. Super Nintendo never had a problem with that. So once again, Super Nintendo delivers. The background music is really cool. This is very easy. I'll tell you, this is not very easy. It's the only thing. That'll come into another category, I guess.
Round 3. Fight.
The bass is good. The impact from the hits is really good. The announcer's voice is good. Very good.
Sub-Zero wins. Fatality.
Sounds really good. Not gonna lie. It sounds like it's kind of coming behind a door, but overall, the sound is very, very good on the Super Nintendo version. Let's take a look, see what it sounds like over on the Genesis. All right, let's talk about the sound. And keep it quiet for a match here, for a round. Cabal wins. But did you hear that? Shao Kahn is in fact announcing on this one. Big deal on the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. There wasn't a lot of voice or speech in those. But on the Sega Genesis version, they got it all. They got Shao Kahn laughing. You got him announcing, combos, laughing. Overall, very good. The music is what it's supposed to be. It's knocking through the roof. Even the music changes just like in the arcade. So, whew, we're getting our butt kicked too. Wow. This is on easiest. So, that being said, this game is still hard. You get 5 credits. Now there are codes, but we aren't doing the codes in this one. We're just playing through just to compare right off the hop the game just from without putting any codes in. So that's what we're doing this time. But overall, as you can see, the sound is really good. The punches, powerful enough. They sound good. Overall, they did really well. Let's do his fatality. Here we go. And he announces fatality. All right, there you go. Let's talk about it. Okay, so what did you think? The Super Nintendo sounded pretty good. The Genesis sounded pretty good. The Super Nintendo, I think it's capable of better sound depending on what you like, but I found them very even. So the Super Nintendo sounds like the arcade, just shrunk down. Once again, the speech and the music sound like they're being played from behind a door. Once again, you turn it up though, you get used to it pretty quickly, and it's very well done. Now the Sega Genesis this time around, Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat, they didn't include much voice sampling, but in MK3 they threw it all in there, up to the Sub-Zero shows mercy, that kind of thing. It's there. While the announcer doesn't announce animalities, like, big deal. You know what? The Sega Genesis was very ambitious on this port, and they did a great job. As grainy as the sound is in the speech, it's still there. And coming out of a CRT TV back in the day, it sounded awesome. It was music to our ears. So the Super Nintendo and the Genesis, I give them both, again, a 3.5 on sound out of 5. While it's definitely doable, it just sounds kind of tiny in comparison to the arcade. But I mean, these are 16-bit systems, so that's to be expected. But they both sound good. The speech is all in there for the most part, and the sound, the music is all funky and upbeat, and it's dark when it has to be. So neck and neck, 3.5 on sound. Now, how did these games control? Were they fun to play? We're going to touch on controls right now. We're going to play a little bit more, and let's talk about controls afterwards. Here we go. All right, how does this game control on the Super Nintendo? Well, the Super Nintendo controller, I thought, even though the layout's a little bit different, I think this game controls very well. Very well. It does what you want it to do. I mean, Jesus, this version's really hard. This is a very easy setting. Super Nintendo's very hard, but sound. Sorry, not sound. Control. We already talked about sound. Losing my mind here. Control. It does what you want it to do. There's no latency, no lag, I find. Nightwolf just completely obliterated me. But this game plays very well. Let's try again.
Sub-Zero.
Now, if you're playing against a buddy, I mean, you guys are gonna have a great time playing. The computer is very difficult in this version. Toasty! Toasty's still in there. There we go, different story on that round. But the controls are doing exactly what I want it to do, and that is a very, very important factor when playing a game. I mean, you gotta be able to control it, and I'm having no problem controlling it, so that's good. Here we go. Fatality works good.
Sub-Zero wins fatality.
Excellent. Let's see how the Sega Genesis version controls with that 6-button controller. Alright, so how does this game control for the Sega Genesis? Well, just like the Super Nintendo, this game handles really well. It does what you want it to do. The controls are easy to pull off. The combos are easy to pull off. It plays very much like the arcade, to be honest. The difficulty on the arcade was pretty reasonable. And that is pretty much the same on here. The controls do exactly what you want it to do. That's a good thing. I mean, that control is everything, you know? It makes the games fun. And yes, this game does exactly what you want it to do. So I messed up that fatality. But anyways, let's talk about it. All right, so as you can see in the gameplay there, how do these games control? Well, once again, the Super Nintendo control is very tight. It's very good. The gameplay seems a touch slow at points. And that being said, however, overall, the game plays like you want it to play. It feels good with the Super Nintendo controller. And that being said, it's got very tight controls for this version. It does what you want it to do, and there is literally no latency, no lag. Sega Genesis version plays perfect. I got to be honest, it plays really tight. I don't notice any slowdown on the Sega Genesis version, and the controls do exactly what you want them to do. So, with that being said, they get a 5 out of 5 on each. This game plays perfectly. It does exactly what you want it to do. As long as you're doing the inputs properly, you're getting those moves in there. So this is a tight one. This is close. Now we're going to analyze the final category, the overall fun factor. Which game is more fun to play, the Sega Genesis version or the Super Nintendo version? Let's play a couple more rounds, and and then we'll talk about the final verdict, the fun factor, and then which game is better for what system. So let's get right into that, and it's fun factor. So let's just have some fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and finally, overall fun factor. The Super Nintendo. Playing against the computer. Is the computer fun? On the Super Nintendo, the computer is very hard. Unless you know little tricks like that, doing the ice statue and then running in and pulling off a combo. You can do it. Doesn't always work. But the game is very hard. This is very easy. And while the computer tricks do seem to work for the most part, if he runs towards me and I roundhouse kick him, he usually falls for it and you can pull off a win. But without the tricks, this game is still very hard. And I'm not sure if a very easy and medium, if they play according to what they are. If you don't know these tricks, you're gonna have one heck of a time trying to beat it. You do know the tricks, however. Not too bad. So, overall fun factor. I am having fun, but this would be very, very frustrating to anybody just an average gamer just picking it up. I mean, I am average, but I mean an average gamer at, okay, I'm sounding cocky. An average gamer at Mortal Kombat 3 would have a very, very tough time. And so does that contribute to the fun? It might, depending on how you look at it. Here we go. Very little time to pull off a fatality. Anyways, overall, fun game. Let's check out the Sega Genesis, see how that version is for fun factor, and then do our final review of the Super Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis Mortal Kombat 3. And last but not least, is the Sega Genesis version fun? I will tell you right now, this game is a ton of fun on this system. It's hard, yes, but it's not overly hard. Won't let me throw them though. Interesting. There we go. Let's see if we can do the pit fatality to him in this. Overall fun factor though, I had a great time revisiting this. Kano's always very hard in these in the Mortal Kombat 3 when you fight him near the end of the tower. There we go. Pit fatality works. Doesn't look too bad either. I gotta be honest with you, I had a lot of fun playing the Sega Genesis version. So, that being said, let's give our final review, and let's pick a favorite. Which one do we enjoy more, Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis? All right, and there you have it, the last bit of gameplay for both systems. I had a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun revisiting both of them. The Super Nintendo version plays great. It's tons of fun. It does what you want. It's the arcade version shrunk down into a 16-bit system. Definitely delivered back in the day. And that being said, this time around, I give it a 4 out of 5. Very, very fun game. Very well done. And just a beautiful game overall. The Sega Genesis version, pretty much the exact same. Had a lot of fun playing it. It wasn't too hard. Still difficult though, which was good because you needed replay value back in the day. But overall, great time, great graphics, great gameplay. It's fast, it's fun, and with the 6-button Genesis controller, how can you complain? How can you go wrong? So the Genesis version, I'm giving a 4.5 out of 5 on fun factor because I find it plays more smooth than the Super Nintendo. No slowdown, none of that. It's just a fast-paced, fast game, and I absolutely love the Genesis version. So what is the final score then? I did write this down. The final score for the Super Nintendo version is 16 out of 20 overall. And the Sega Genesis version, I gave a 16.5. I think it's slightly more fun than the Super Nintendo version to play. So that is my verdict. Whichever you prefer. It's all just, it's a matter of opinion and matter of tastes. Like I said, I was a Super Nintendo guy growing up, but, when it comes to a gameplay and fun, you got to, you got to pick which one's more fun. And I think the Genesis version, just because it plays better, I think it's more fun. So there you have it. There's my full review for Mortal Kombat 3 versus Mortal Kombat 3, Super Nintendo versus Genesis. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment in the comments if if you want to disagree or argue a bit or tell me your opinion. But overall, it was close. Either version is great. I love both of them, and it'll be interesting when we get to Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3, because how did these two compare on the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis? Well, we'll find out another time. Thank you very much for watching the video, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and enjoy the rest of your life. See you later.